James Lennis, these wines are next. They're from the producer Domaine Bosquet. They're called Gaia. One is a Cabernet Sauvignon, the other is a Cabernet Franc. Stay tuned and I'll tell you about these wines. So to begin, start off by hitting this button right above, and that's a subscribe button to see the latest videos that I'm producing. If you've already hit that button, thank you so much, and cheers to you. We have Domaine Bosquet wines. I'll place, right up here in the playlist, or the cards rather. So right up in the YouTube cards, I'm going to place other Domaine Bosquet wines that I've reviewed over time. I think it's nice to reference back to them. High quality producer, Mendoza, Argentina. And so these are, I'll show you the label up close in a moment, but these are, a frame on this is that these are made with organic grapes, not to be confused with organic wine, which is no sulfites, as defined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Why that's important is some people look for that specifically, and some people actually avoid that for several reasons. Some people don't like the taste of wines that don't have sulfites. So there are two distinction points that I like to make there. So it's a really nice, attractive label, and it's meaningful because this wine is a vegan wine. I'll just show you up close so you can see that. So here is the label, nice attractive label on the front, and you can see it's vegan friendly. It's going to be Vino Argentino, Eco Cert, and I think the other one is the gluten free. So that's another thing that I want to point out. So it meets a lot of criteria for people out there. So I think it's really important to, so I think it's really essential to think about vegan wines because not all wines are vegan, right? And so to have a marker to look at and have something to verify that is important for many drinkers out there. So I do list that down below in terms of the hashtags, so you can find those vegan wines more quickly. So we have this wine here, 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. So I always ask a question, and you should too when you taste your wines. If you're poured a Cabernet Sauvignon, you're at a tasting room at a winery, and ask, is it 100% Cabernet Sauvignon? So the reason to do so is just to get the taste of that wine. If it's 100%, then you're going to taste 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. If there's a little bit of, other Bordeaux varieties or other varieties, it's nice to taste that as well. It's going to characterize the wine slightly differently. And so it's nice to get that taste and really understanding. That's the whole point of, wine consumer education. It's to understand and to enjoy and find what is your desired wines on the palate. So let's start off with this wine. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon. And I like the back copy. I'll just read just a bit of it. And so this is grown at a 1,200 meter or 4,000 feet above sea level altitude. And so that's important to think about. And so because it's high elevation, it's in the background you'll see the Andes Mountains. And so you see that, but you should also think about that in terms of really remarkable temperature swings between evening and daytime temperatures. So think about that in terms of acidity and building and developing gorgeous wines. So this is manually harvested in April, and again for that's Southern Hemisphere wine, Argentina. And it's interesting to think about that because here in the Northern Hemisphere you're going to have things that are produced in terms of say August, September, October. Now the fermentation has a maximum temperature between 26 and 28 degrees for 15 days and 30 days of maceration, 100% malolactic fermentation, aged in French oak between 8 and 10 months. So a lot is going on in this wine, and I think you get a lot for your money because it does contain specifics that guide you to the wine you want: sustainability, vegan wine, and organic grapes and so forth. So let's begin to talk about the characterization on this wine. It's a notation of blackberry on the nose here, a bit of black cherry notes, crushed spices, and dried red floral. And next, the palate characterization. Because it is 100%, it is that telltale Cabernet Sauvignon. That is a very herbaceous characteristics of this wine. So notes on this are cassis, black pepper, clove, and freshly ground spices, and a sprig of tarragon in here as well. I think it's so nicely done. This is a 92.1 out of 100 points. Next is a Cabernet Franc. And here's a Cabernet Franc, and obviously the same label, 2018 vintage. These are both 15% ABV wines, by the way, and back label for you to look at here. Again, I think all these certifications are important: Vino Argentino, Eco Cert, vegan friendly, and there's one more here that's important: gluten free. And I think all these things come together to create that compelling brand message, as well as made with organic grapes. So you see all these certifications that it's vegan friendly. This is gluten-free, EcoCert, Vino Argentino. All these are really verifying the facts that these are sustainably made wines, and I think it's important to think about these wines in terms of many a question I have on vegan wines. It's very important to people who have a vegan diet, and it's people want that in their wine as well. And I think that's a really good thing that I think winemakers and producers are talking about this, because I think it's really nice to hone in on what you want and what you need. Observing a vegan diet, you can still enjoy this wine anyway. So it was really hard at one point to find varietally labeled Cabernet Franc in the United States. And so you're seeing this more often. So for you, the person who enjoys wine, is really asking for this to be brought to the marketplace. And it's one that's high acceptance. I'd say a big variation on producers and how this characterizes. So it's that Bordeaux grape that I think is just so sublime and beautiful. So these wines are coming from Tupungato, and really beautiful, gorgeous characterization of Cabernet Franc. It has a nice body to it, acidity, and I think there's some producers that may produce one that might be too herbaceous, but I think this has a nice balance to the wine that really sparkles and is enjoyable. So this wine, characteristics on this, is manually harvested, as is the Cabernet Sauvignon that I just mentioned. This is harvested at the end of March. Again, that distinction between northern and southern hemisphere. Cold maceration for 72 hours. Maceration with select yeast at a maximum temperature of 27 degrees Celsius for 12 days, and maceration for 14 days. And this is aged in French oak for 10 months. So a different characterization to the wine, different variety, and different winemaking approach. Not radically different, of course, but it's just how this wine is created and to optimize the experience. So this wine is giving notes of black cherry, deciduous forest in autumn, and leather suede notes. Nicely done. Next, the palate characterization. So notes on this wine are black cherry, clove, pepper, bay leaf, and a bit of tarragon on this. So this wine is 92 points out of 100 points. Fantastic wines. I think these are really appreciable wines to enjoy, especially for maybe US Thanksgiving, when you're thinking of having a variety of guests over. Maybe you're cooking a vegan diet, and this is a nice wine to add to that. If you're not, you can still pour it anyway. Good value price point, well-qualitied wine. Thank you for watching. I'll put more information on the producer down below. Questions and comments you could list there. And that's where the like button is, of course. And if you like this video, please give a like. And so stay tuned and let's stay connected. You'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and WordPress. Additionally, you'll find me on my podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. I'll see you soon. Salute.